It's the scenario the Pentagon has spent decades planning for, but always dreaded. At 0200 hours, deep inside Iranian airspace over the Zagros Mountains, the unthinkable happened. A top-of-the-line U.S. F-15E Strike Eagle, part of the 494th Fighter Squadron out of RAF Lakenheath, simply vanished from radar. Now the reports are confirmed. The fighter jet, worth nearly $100 million, has been shot down over southern Iran. This is the first confirmed loss of a U.S. warplane in the 34-day conflict codenamed Operation Epic Fury. As debris from the advanced fighter scatters across the rugged landscape, a desperate search is now underway for its two-person crew. This isn't just the loss of an aircraft. It's a political landmine, an intelligence nightmare, and an event that could push two nations to the absolute brink of all-out war. Just imagine it. A Mach 2.5 Strike Eagle, screaming through hostile skies on a high-stakes mission, suddenly erupts in a ball of fire. It's been hit by a hidden missile from an air defense network that was supposedly degraded. The two crew members eject from their Aces II seats, their parachutes blooming in the darkness over contested territory. One has been rescued in a daring, low-level helicopter snatch. But the other's fate is hanging by a thread, with Iranian Revolutionary Guards and local militias closing in. And all of this is happening just 24 hours after President Trump declared the Iranian military beaten and completely decimated. This one single event shatters the rhetoric of a clean war, exposing the messy, unpredictable, and dangerous reality on the ground. With two aviators down behind enemy lines, a desperate race against time began. This is the world of Combat Search and Rescue, or CSAR, and it's one of the most perilous missions the U.S. military can undertake. The moment that distress signal hits, the entire operation shifts. The primary objective is no longer some strategic target, it's getting your people back. As retired Air Force General James Slife, a former Special Operations Commander, points out, there's a profound moral obligation to recover your own. But the motivation is also brutally pragmatic. You have to deny the enemy a captured American soldier they can parade for propaganda. Immediately, a complex and high-risk operation spun into motion, all coordinated from CENTCOM headquarters at MacDill Air Force Base. The rescue package would have likely involved HH-60W Jolly Green II helicopters, the Air Force's premier CSAR platform, crewed by elite pararescue jumpers, or PJs. These helicopters are built for this exact scenario, with in-flight refueling, advanced sensors, and heavy defensive systems. Flying cover would be a mix of assets, including A-10 Warthog attack jets, whose job is to suppress any threats that pop up on the ground. U.S. officials even confirmed that social media videos showing American C-130s and helicopters flying extremely low in broad daylight were real, a tactic you only use when the need to get a pilot back outweighs the incredible risk of being seen. A current CSAR pilot called a daylight rescue in a hostile country some complete other level of terrifying, which tells you just how critical this mission was. The dangers here are immense. The mountainous terrain of southwestern Iran, where the jet went down, provides perfect cover for mobile air defense units and ground patrols. For the rescuers, flying low and slow to find a survivor makes them predictable, vulnerable targets. And those risks became real almost immediately. During the frantic search, two American UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters were hit by enemy fire, injuring the crews inside, though both were able to limp back to base. Even the mission's A-10 escort wasn't spared. An A-10 involved in the rescue took fire, forcing its pilot to eject over the Persian Gulf. Thankfully, that pilot was recovered successfully. This cascade of losses shows the brutal math of CSAR. To save one, you often have to risk many more. The environment is pure chaos, with incomplete information flooding in, and Iran, knowing exactly what's at stake, is pulling out all the stops to stop the rescue. Iranian state media broadcasted calls for citizens to detain enemy pilots, and local merchants even started offering rewards for their capture. Reports indicate that Bakhtiari tribal groups in the Khuzestan mountains are actively searching for the missing aviator. Every minute the second crew member remains on the ground, the chances they're captured skyrocket. If they're taken prisoner, they transform from a soldier into a strategic pawn. That creates a hostage crisis that could hand Iran enormous political leverage and change the entire course of the war. This isn't just a race against the clock. It's a race against an entire nation mobilized to find them first. The F-15E Strike Eagle is one of the most formidable and combat-proven fighter jets on the planet. So the big question on every analyst's mind is, how on earth was it shot down? The Strike Eagle isn't a stealth aircraft, but it is a monster of aviation engineering. It's a two-seat, all-weather fighter designed for deep interdiction missions, flying low and fast, far behind enemy lines to take out high-value targets. With a top speed over Mach 2.5 and the ability to carry a massive payload, it's considered a potent ground attack platform with unequaled accuracy. Its survival is built on a combination of speed, advanced avionics, and a powerful electronic warfare suite. By 2025, the whole fleet was supposed to have the AN/APG-82 AESA radar, giving pilots unparalleled situational awareness, and the Eagle Passive Active Warning and Survivability System, or EPAWS, designed to detect and jam enemy threats. And yet, despite all that advanced gear, the F-15E from the 494th Panthers Squadron was brought down. This incident has exposed a hard truth. No aircraft is invincible, especially when it's forced into predictable flight patterns in a high-threat area. Pentagon officials had been claiming that Iran's best air defense systems, like their Russian-made S-300s and homegrown Bayvar 373s, had been largely destroyed in the first few weeks of the war. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, U.S. Air Force General Dan Kane, said just weeks ago that U.S. aircraft could fly with relative impunity. The wreckage in the Zagros Mountains tells a very different story. It suggests Iran's air defense network is far more resilient and far more lethal than U.S. intelligence believed. So how did it happen? There are a few leading theories. First is the threat of mobile, short to medium range surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs. Systems like Iran's domestically produced third of Khordad are made for exactly this. They're mounted on trucks, so they're hard to track. They can pop up, fire a missile, and disappear before a mission to destroy them can even get there. Iranian media initially, and falsely, claimed they shot down an F-35 with a new type of system. But wreckage photos quickly confirmed it was an F-15E. Some of those images, however, did look consistent with a hit from a sophisticated SAM. The second possibility is a lower-tech but just as deadly threat: man-portable air defense systems, or MANPADS. If the F-15E was flying low to stay off high-altitude radar, it would have been vulnerable to shoulder-fired missiles. These weapons are everywhere and are extremely difficult to counter. An F-15E, while fast, puts out a huge heat signature, making it a prime target for infrared-guided missiles, especially if it was maneuvering at slower speeds. Early reports of the shootdown happening near Keshem Island, where Iran's IRGC Navy is very active, fit with scenarios involving these shorter-range systems. A third possibility involves a failure of intelligence or tactics. The EPAWS system is advanced, but maybe it couldn't counter a specific threat it wasn't expecting. It's also possible that a mix of factors, pilot error, a brief lapse in situational awareness, or just a lucky shot from a determined enemy, led to the loss. Iran has invested heavily in a layered, integrated air defense network. They mix modern Russian systems with their own. And they don't just rely on radar. They use passive infrared and optical systems that are much harder to jam. This creates a complex web designed to make sure that even if one layer fails, others are still deadly. The loss of this Strike Eagle is brutal proof that their strategy works. It's a harsh reminder that air supremacy is never guaranteed. A downed jet isn't just a military loss. It's a political trigger that sends shockwaves from the battlefield straight to the White House. This one event completely complicates a conflict the Trump administration was trying to portray as basically over. Just days before the shootdown, President Trump had given a primetime address claiming the U.S. had beaten and completely decimated Iran and held all the cards. That narrative is now lying in tatters, right alongside the F-15E's wreckage. The loss exposes a massive gap between political talking points and the dangerous reality of war, handing Tehran a huge propaganda victory. In fact, Iranian parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf openly mocked the U.S., saying their war effort had been downgraded from regime change to, "Hey, can anyone find our pilots, please?" This incident forces the administration into a strategic corner, trapped between the need to respond forcefully and the risk of spiraling out of control. The pressure is immense. At home, the loss of an American jet and the ongoing danger to the crew are fueling opposition to an already unpopular war. President Trump is also nearing the 60-day limit set by the War Powers Act, a deadline that will only intensify congressional scrutiny, especially from Democrats demanding a clear strategy. But at the same time, any response that looks weak could embolden Iran and its proxies. For America's allies in the region, this is a nightmare. Gulf states like Kuwait and the UAE, along with Turkey, are terrified of this conflict blowing up into a full-blown regional catastrophe. They're worried about direct attacks, massive refugee flows, and the complete collapse of their economies. The war has already choked off exports, and Iran has shown it's willing to strike beyond its borders. In just the last few days, Iran's proxy networks have attacked a Kuwaiti refinery and used drones to damage buildings in Dubai, including the headquarters of American tech giant Oracle. Those attacks, combined with the F-15 shootdown, have sent oil prices spiking and are threatening a global economic crisis. President Trump is now staring at a dangerous escalation ladder. In public, he's tried to downplay the incident's effect on any potential talks, saying, "No, not at all. No, it's war. We're in war." But behind the scenes, the entire calculation has changed. Does the U.S. double down and expand its strikes, risking more losses and getting sucked into a deeper quagmire? Or does it show restraint and focus only on the rescue, which Tehran could spin as weakness? The administration has already issued an ultimatum. If Iran doesn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. will launch extensive attacks on Iranian energy sites, a move that could set the whole region on fire. The ultimate wild card in all of this is the missing pilot. If that aviator is captured, the conflict transforms from a military fight into a high-stakes hostage crisis. A captured American pilot becomes the face of the war, a powerful bargaining chip for Iran, and could create overwhelming pressure back in the U.S. to do whatever it takes to get them back, up to and including a ground invasion. On the flip side, a successful rescue could provide a moment of national unity and give the administration a political off-ramp to de-escalate from a position of strength. Every decision made in the next few hours carries immense weight, with the potential to either pull the region back from the brink or push it right over the edge. So what does the downing of this F-15E Strike Eagle really tell us? It reveals the core paradox of modern warfare. A single tactical event, one missile, one plane, one missing pilot, can trigger strategic consequences that ripple across the globe, unraveling political narratives and challenging the very idea of military superiority. The United States entered this conflict with what looked like an overwhelming advantage, believing it could fight a clean, decisive war. The Pentagon said Iran's air defenses were neutralized, and the White House said the war was almost won. But the resilient, layered, and adaptive strategy of the Iranian military proved that on the 21st century battlefield, the gap between a superpower and a regional power is much narrower than we think. Iran took the first punch and is now hitting back in asymmetric ways that create the biggest possible political and strategic damage. The loss of an advanced fighter, the damage to rescue helicopters, and the downing of an A-10 have turned a supposedly simple operation into a complex, open-ended, and very costly conflict. What we're watching is a high-stakes collision of technology, human courage, and raw political pressure unfolding in real time. The desperate bravery of the rescue teams, the grim determination of an enemy fighting on home turf, and the impossible choices facing leaders in Washington and Tehran all converge on this one single event. It shows just how quickly control can be lost, how fast assumptions can shatter, and how a contained conflict can threaten to become a catastrophic, uncontainable war. If you want to understand more about the military technology and geopolitical dynamics that shape our world, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more in-depth analysis.